I will go ahead and kick this off. It's Rick Parkhill here. You can see my background. I'm sitting here at Sundance in front of the rehearsal hall, and if you all believe that, you haven't been on Zoom for long. But representing today for Sundance, and hope to see you all there pretty soon. Listen, this is a first. We're stumbling around with Zoom a little bit, but we'll get this worked out. I think we already have. But this is the first time we've ever done something like this around an event. We've got 8 weeks of the speaker series intended to get you connected with these industry experts and leaders, and also with yourselves, because you're all part of this big community of brand storytellers. So it's a unique thing. I hope everybody enjoys it and participates. We're going to have a panel here with our guest in just a moment. It's going to go on for about 30 or 35 minutes and a discussion between them. Please post your questions into the chat. We'll open this up to a open discussion with all of you for about the last 20 or 25 minutes of the hour. So appreciate you all participating. And we've got 8 weeks of this leading up to our event in July. But listen, if there's anything that any of you that are tuned in right now would like to schedule your own discussion amongst Elevate guests, we'll support it. Tell us what you want to talk about. We'll put it out as an invite. We can schedule other Zooms if you would like to do that leading up to the event. So the whole intent here is get some conversations going and make some new friends. And also letting you know that we do have a few slots open for Elevate. If any of your colleagues or friends are interested, let me know, and we can extend invitations. We're reserving rooms now. We only have 125 rooms at the resort, so we limit it to just 125, but there are some availabilities if you know people that would like to participate. So super excited about this panel today. We've got great people here that know a little bit about comedy. Starting with Adam Puchalsky, who's the global head of Pulse. You all know who Kevin Hart is. Adam's the guy that runs the brand studio for Kevin, called Pulse, and he's going to have some great input here. We're really happy to have Randi Jachino here. If you haven't watched The Last Barf Bag, folks, you got to do so. Randi's behind that. She is the VP of Marketing at Prestige Health Brands, I guess. The brand that's really leveraged comedy here is Dramamine with The Last Barf Bag, and it's just such a great example of comedic brand storytelling. You got to check it out if you haven't. And of course, we have Neel Williams. Hi, Neel. Neel is the SVP Group Creative Director for the Martin Agency. He's been on the Geico account for about a decade or more. Knows a little bit about comedy and cavemen and lizards. So if you haven't caught Legend of the Lizard, you got to look at that too. So I'm going to turn this over to our esteemed moderator today. It's Cindy Weisskopf, our good friend who's from Synchrony Bank. She'll be out at Elevate with us. She's a veteran of the Elevate event. Cindy, I know you don't have video, but you do have voice, and we'll let you go ahead and get your panel going. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. So I'll just ask everyone's indulgence. I'm having a little bit of an issue with the Zoom. So I won't see anyone's visual cues, but I'm going to ask the first couple of questions to the panel and just round robin. So let's just go in alphabetical order. Adam, Neel, Randi. And the first question is just, I'd love for you to introduce your project and what was the insight that led you to take a comedic approach?
I'm really excited to talk about this. Awesome. I'm really excited to talk about this. It's a project that's been in the making I remember I got on a plane to go to Paris during the Omicron variant around Christmas time of 2021, where there's an insurance company, AXA, and they realized that on the heels of the pandemic, there's going to be a tidal wave of mental health issues, and if it goes unchecked, it'll cause physical ailments, and that leads to obviously a business challenge for them as an insurance company, having to sort out the physical challenges. But at the same time, they also realize that people aren't going to talk about their mental health unless they have, after the age of 25. They've done a ton of research, and their data indicated the sooner that people talk, the more likely they are to opt into mental health coverage. So there was a double benefit for Access Business, and they went to WPP and they said, "Hey, look," which is where I was at the time. They said, "We need to destigmatize people talking about mental health. We're looking to speak to the adulting community, so folks who, they've spent their whole lives, living with their parents, on their parents' insurance company, cell phone plan, you name it, and now they're being told they're supposed to be living their best life. They have the whole world ahead of them, amazing opportunities in front of them, but they're overwhelmingly anxious. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing with life. They're looking for a life partner. They can barely afford all of the things they want to do, but it's supposed to be the best time of their life. They're just feeling overwhelmed." And what we realized was, the problem is, if you hurt your knee, you go to the doctor, you get your knee surgery, you'll be in physical therapy for 3 months, you'll be running a marathon in 6 to 8. But with mental health, you don't want to talk about it, because once you start unpacking it, you don't know where it's going to get to. The provocation we got to is that if it's mentionable, it could be more manageable. And the premise that we got to was sharing is therapeutic. And what we loved about that as a premise for storytelling was it could manifest itself as anything. It could be sharing your lunch money, it could be sharing a story, it could be sharing some time. But what we realized was that comedy is actually an interesting aperture for sharing, and comedians are at the forefront of telling their stories to new audiences. And stand-up comedy is actually a type of therapy for comedians who are historically suffering the most in a lot of ways. So the documentary we came up with was called Group Therapy, and it's a series of A-list comedians sitting in a group therapy session talking about the issues of their life, and then you cut away to their stand-up where you see them actually living out that storytelling, and then you cut back to the group, and in the end, it is a beautiful celebration of the benefits of telling your story and making light of it and introducing comedy. So it's not slapstick, it's not jovial, it's serious, but it does make you smile and it does make you laugh. And we're excited to celebrate it. At the time of this filming, Tribeca Film Festival is a few weeks out, but that's where it's premiering. So really excited about that as well.
Cool. I guess that's my turn. Yeah, the project that I'm here to talk about is Legend of the Lizard, and it was this big months-long multi-channel campaign for Geico that peaked during the Super Bowl pregame. And one of the centerpieces was a 15-minute long documentary about the Geico gecko, and it's treated pretty authentically. There's a touch of mockumentary in there, but not a lot. And I think as far as the audience insight goes, led us to comedy. As most of you are probably familiar with the Geico brand in some way, shape, or form. Comedy's in our DNA. It's what we do. It's kind of our default setting. So I would say, if anything, the interesting pivot here was about maybe being a little bit more straightforward and less overtly comedic than normal. And part of that audience insight was, we knew we were going to have a lot of media placement against sports, Super Bowl pregame being a big part of that. So football, and we started looking at the kinds of entertainment that this audience consumes, and documentaries like The Last Dance, 30 for 30, series, Drive to Survive. Those really popped. So we thought that could be an interesting place to play. And so that's where we ended up where we did. Randi?
Okay. So like Rick said, where we chose a comedic route was on Dramamine with The Last Barf Bag. The Last Barf Bag is a 12-minute film, I guess, sort of like what Neel said. It's mockumentary, but more on the documentary than the mocking. The insight around there was more of a business insight, I would say. We started a journey with the brand in the same earlier in the year with Llama. We call him the Drama Llama. And so we took a comedic approach to the brand to make it more approachable and make it less medicinal and start moving it more to lifestyle. And when we saw the traction on that, we wanted to keep it going, and we knew the next iterations of that needed to be the brand inserted more into just culture and lifestyle and earned media. And that is where we talked with the agency. They gave us a bunch of ideas that inserted us more into just general conversation versus the paid component. And it was honestly super fortuitous for us. It was the 75th anniversary of the brand. The same year, the anniversary of the barf bag. And they found these collectors of barf bags that are out there, and, had contacted them and decided, it would be a good idea to make some sort of film about this. And that was the start of our journey and the idea. And it turned into a film. We did a pop-up museum in Soho, New York. We've done screenings, and we also are one of the Tribeca X official selections for June. So we're super excited about that, and just really honestly snowballed beyond what we had imagined.
So I've seen all of the work. And so first of all, congratulations. I think it's fantastic. And it's really pioneering in the space. So being from a brand, I am constantly asked, as I'm sure your clients always ask you, or you are always asked by your leadership team, how do you know this works? So how do you plan to really look at what success looks like? And how will you communicate that? And I will go round robin one more time to the panel.
So I think that's a really good question, and we talk about this a lot. There's obviously the guarantees and the impression metrics and the brand metrics that are required. But one thing that doesn't get discussed enough is the control of voice. And what I mean is, talent and influencers in a lot of ways, and celebrities are the authentic voice in media to deliver the key message that you're trying to the audience you're speaking to. And what the challenge for brands is to rescind some of the control of the messaging that they want to deliver, so that the talent could deliver in a more authentic the message in a more authentic way on their behalf. And this is an example I always give for BMW. It's the ultimate driving machine, right? It goes 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. I'm not a car guy, but I'm a dad, and when I've got 2 kids in the backseat screaming at each other, my 2 boys are 9 and 6, and they're always yelling at each other in the backseat, and I'm at a red light, and I've got to pee. Going 0 to 60 means something to me, because I get home faster. I can run into the door and go to the bathroom, and I don't have to listen to my kids screaming in the background anymore. So, but like, talking about the machine as a BMW isn't going to resonate. But if I went to dadswithsmallbladders.com and BMW started talking to me, suddenly I think this is a car for me, because they're speaking to me. And as a brand, BMW could never speak authentically on that. It would be a great spot. Speak authentically to me on dadswithsmallbladders.com, because it's off brand for them. But by rescinding control of their message and letting the talent, letting the media speak to me authentically, it becomes way more resonant, and then it'll work substantially more.
Yeah, and so Cindy, I was going to ask you, just so that my answer is more pointed, is the question more around, why is comedy successful, or is it why is longer form comedy / entertainment successful?
I think it's more around, how do you know comedy works I understand you've got all the metrics around a 30, right? But now you're doing something really different, right? You're going into long form content and you're going into longer form content with comedy. How are you going to measure that? And how are you going to tell the story that says, wow, this was a great move for us?
Yeah. Well, I on Geico, one of our goals has been and continues to always be breakthrough and just getting attention and owning more real estate in people's brains. I think we already own a fair amount for a brand, certainly within the realm of car insurance, and so that is always something that is top of our mind, is to be top of other people's minds. That's a little, that's a little fuzzy, but it is an ambition. I think on the business side of things, one of our big goals was to get people, with this campaign especially, was to get people to think of Geico a little bit differently. We've are kind of a victim of our own success, and that we've spent decades and decades talking about saving money. And I think it's a very competitive landscape in insurance, and everybody is helping people save some amount of money. And so now we have to add a little bit more depth to what we offer. And I think, sometimes to get people to think about your brand differently, you have to show them a slightly different side of yourself, which in this case was, like a long form documentary. But, of course, we're still always beholden to all the standard KPIs, from the fuzzier end of, earned impressions to, actual business results, number of inquiries and policies in force. So we're looking at the full gamut with everything.
So I love something I think I just heard you say, which is you are using this longer form content to help you move beyond value, right? And tell a bigger story about Geico and who you are. I think that's really brilliant that you're thinking about content in a different way to really elevate your brand.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I would say some things are similar to what Neel just said for Dramamine. So first, I guess, obviously we did set up as a brand team certain measures of if we were going to consider this worked or not, with, targets for earned media, unique visitors to our website and the increases there, sales obviously increasing. And I think beyond those hard and fast numbers, it's sort of what Neel just said. We fundamentally have changed the conversation on Dramamine. So I think, still for many, Dramamine is a motion sickness brand. But what happened was, people come to our site, they see our other products, they see we're beyond motion. It also works with the other things that we do throughout the year to try to bring it more to a lifestyle brand versus a problem solution brand. And the media coverage that we got, we got broadcast, we had local, print, we've kind of seen it all. It's honestly continuing to go. Like the barf bag collectors are getting interviewed. Many of them are getting interviewed for other things on just barf bag collectors. Now that's become a thing, and we've sort of made them into many celebrities in their towns. But it kind of keeps going. And honestly, I don't know any paid campaign for what we paid would have lasted this long for a film that dropped in a day of a museum. There was a New York Post article that was written, and the headline was like, "It's a big year for barf." I mean, like, that's just so, and also that's how we want to be seen. We don't want to be seen as this very serious medicine that, you have a serious issue and you have to take it. So I think this is all helping us move the brand in the right direction.
I think that's brilliant. We, as brands, we struggle, right, with how to tell a story about your brand in 30 seconds. So I love the work you've all done. I'm gonna ask one more question to the panel, but to be fair to Randy, who always has to go last, I'm gonna reverse you this time. Neel, I'm sorry, you're always stuck in the middle. So I think you've all touched on this a bit, but I'd love to dig a little deeper on how you market the content. That's another place I've seen brands sort of struggle is, I've got this great piece of content, now what do I do with it? And I think you've all been very deliberate about how you're gonna market it. So I'd love to share that story.
Sure. So we had something set up from the beginning and then some things that have continued to come in. So I think the initial how we were marketing it was obviously through PR, and we had a PR agency that definitely, got the word out, and that helped a lot. We had the museum day in Soho that was meant to get press in there, to get them seat. We had a screening room in the back. We had the barf bags on. It basically looked like a mini museum. We had influencers come as well. So that was part of how we got it out too. We had travel influencers, lifestyle influencers. Obviously that gets to different channels as well. And we had paid media driving to the actual film. Since then, we have also our agency that's been doing their own kind of PR tour. They had a screening in Chicago locally. So and then also we've done print in the Chicago newspaper for that. And we also are looking at things around Tribeca now that we are a selection, and continuing the paid media and using some of what has happened already in the paid media now that we have some additional content to share. And we're also looking at maybe housing it. It's on YouTube right now, and it's on thelastbarfbag.com. We're looking at maybe housing it on, a streaming network so that it gets additional eyeballs.
So I think as far as Legend of the Lizard, and marketing it and marketing, I know for some clients, there's the idea, kind of like the field of dreams, like, oh, if we build this field of dreams, like, oh, if we build this beautiful drawn to it, like people will be drawn to it, like moths to the flame. I think it's probably more. I've also seen the field. I've also seen dreams. The field. If you build broken dreams, where no one comes. If you build it, so no one comes. I think to be an intelligent, marketer. In this day and age, you gotta grease the skids. You gotta grease the skids. Like Randy was talking about, that meant, and for us, thinking months out ahead of the actual release of the longer form piece of content. We actually, technically the first piece of the campaign 2 minute long was a 2 minute ad that we ran in the middle of an NFL game, where we brought back the caveman, and it was a little bit of a misdirect. It was a little bit of a misdirect. It seemed like, the caveman's coming back. It seemed like, the caveman's coming back, and there's going to be a new Geico campaign about the caveman. So we started the narrative there. And another 2 minute long ad, another 2 minute long playoff ad that we ran in the middle. We showed, no, this isn't NFL. We showed caveman's time to shine. He thought he was going to be the hero of this documentary, but actually it's documentary. It's really about the Geico gecko. And once again, it was not his time. It was not. So that got the wheels turning. And then we had a lot of social teasers. We dropped a lot of social teasers. We dropped a trailer. There was a bunch of paid media. There was a bunch of paid media. We had numerous in the Super Bowl 30-second spots, including a minute long pregame, including a minute long integration with desk talent, CBS, desk talent. So it was really a full. So it was really a full ecosystem around the longer form, around the piece that we did, just because we knew it was that was the centerpiece of the concept. The centerpiece of the concept in and of itself was not going to get eyeballs.
That's such a great case story for brands. That's such a great case story for brands of just thank you for sharing that. Right. So
great clients. Great clients.
It's interesting because both Randy and Neel, there's no one right way. And I think that what we're going to talk about, what I'm going to talk about now is sort of the way that we broke up. In fairness, hasn't it's premiering been released yet. It's premiering 2 Thursdays, 2 weeks from today. Really exciting. But really exciting. But the way that we think about it, there's, the way that we think about it, there's, you have
brand,
the production company, the talent that's in it, the distribution that's in it, the distribution network, Then of course there's the support from the agency partners. And what we like to do is say like be coordinated insofar as what does the brand want to say? How do we take the assets? How do we take the assets from film and cut it up into assets to give the brand credit for the work that's been done. The advertising dollars they're spending, are both driving awareness of the message, and the connection. Then you have the production company the production company that has their own network, has their own channels, has their own network, has their own channels, has their own audience, and wants to use the partnership as a way to amplify that story. So that's the most important and exciting part. They are their own media network. So while you're quite honestly, early on, when you're negotiating, you want to make sure that as part of it, they're on the hook to promote the stories that are being told, the assets that are being filmed, the assets that are being filmed and created on their behalf, as well as the plot, their connection. And then finally, from distribution, they benefit from having more eyeballs. In addition to having all these different opportunities to get the message out, you want to do in a coordinated way. Respective messages that you want to tell, not competing, overlapping, coordinated to make sure that there's this ongoing onslaught of regular cadence messaging, messaging to deliver excitement, enthusiasm, and then ultimately viewership and purchase.
That's awesome. And I was going to be so fair. And I was going to be so fair and Neil at the next question. But Adam just like loved me the softball to my first question specifically for Adam. Which is Adam. You all have a different model. You all have a different model, right? In terms of talent, you sort of made your talent. You sort of made your talent. The Geico has always been talent, and then you sort of always been talent, and then you sort of went the celebrity. That's three very different approaches. Three very different approaches is so critical when it comes to humor. I'd love to hear you break down. I'd love to know when to break down how you know when to use celebrity, you can go on, how you feel like you can go on. I'd love to just hear that.
That's a really good question. It's really, that's a really good question. It's really, and it quite honestly, we talk about a lot of the values, right? So you have the values of the brand, right? So you have the values of the brand. You have sometimes values of the talent. Sometimes you use the talent to tap into audiences, and sometimes you tap into audiences, and sometimes magnify the message to the shared audience. It always comes back to shared values. Whether it's an A-list celebrity who has cares passionately about the brand and cares passionately about the brand and the brand message, or to the point of the Geico, it's a new created a character that you could then illustrate what the values are. It all comes back to establishing values, audiences, and a clear message.
That's a great answer. Okay, Neil, I actually am going to let you go second again. I'm sorry that you're always second. But I would love to understand how you feel this campaign starts to pull you away from the competitors. Because, you're right. You work in a super competitive space. And you've now done something a little different than what the rest of the competition is doing. And I'd love to just understand how this is helping you kind of pull away from the competition.
Yeah, well, as you noted, it is such a competitive category now, and I mean it's really exciting because you can't let your foot off the gas, So I think it helps make everybody better, which is cool. And State Farm did some really, we did some things before the game, around the game, and State Farm did some great things during the game, and I think used celebrity talent in a really impactful way with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. So it's interesting as far as standing out, because we of course keep a pulse on what's going on within the insurance category, but in a lot of ways we're honestly more concerned with all of advertising, or even everything else that is going to distract people from what we're serving them up. In a lot of ways, our biggest competition is the next thing that they would go to that's not our piece of content. So we have to make our work as compelling as possible to hold people's attention as long as possible. So I don't know if that's a cop-out answer or maybe it's a good one, but I think our real goal is to get people invested in what we're doing and putting out there that the next thing that could distract them, whether it's getting on Instagram or even opening up, going to email or whatever. That's our competition, and creating a compelling storyline that people can, hopefully get lost and immersed in for 13 to 15 minutes is ideally delaying that switching of attention, and we're able to embed those memories a little bit deeper. So when we talk about competition, that's kind of how I think about it and how we think about it.
No, I think that's really smart, because to your point, how you define your competition kind of defines how big a swing you take. So no, I think that's really smart. So Randi, I would love to have been in the room with you when you pitched this idea to your leadership team, because I think that congratulations, that's quite a bold move you made to take a very serious topic and really infuse some humor in it. And I just love to hear, like, how did you package that and present it? And what was the reaction when you said, hey guys, we've got a great idea, but boy, it's different and it's pretty irreverent.
So I think this might be anticlimactic relative to the question of what the answer you think you're going to get. So first, I think honestly, the bigger hurdle was when we introduced the llama, because that was the first piece of creative where it was like a 180 from where we had been. And there was a lot of concern that we were going, Dramamine, it has to stand for efficacy, and we're making a joke out of it a bit, and that our efficacy was somehow going to be diminished. So I think that was honestly the first hurdle, and that really worked well. I mean, our sales were on fire after that. So that gave myself and the team some credibility with we were on the right track. And when the idea came in from our agency for the barf bag, I sort of talked about it with management as more of a PR idea, because that is true. I mean, look, even where we are in our trajectory, it's still like the PR is the number one thing that kind of hit. The film takes time to build, obviously. But we needed the earned media. We needed to be in conversations, and that's how I talked about it internally. And to be honest, there wasn't a lot of meat on the bone when we first saw the idea. So we never got a script. We never got storyboards. This was very much we're going to send this crew out. They're going to go out in twos to two different, if you've seen the film, they go to Alaska, they go to Maine, and the team went out from Sunny 16, and they went out, and we really were relying on them to capture the best footage. And then it was sort of like, and we'll figure out how to put this together. I would have loved to, it's just editing genius, honestly. We just met with the agency. There is so much footage. There's hours of footage to do additional things with. But they really captured the spirit of what they originally pitched to us, which was, a film where the brand got highlighted, but didn't come across as a paid ad. The hero was going to be these collectors that were very, they pulled out the captivating, endearing nature of it. And that, the brand would shine through in ways, but not it wouldn't feel branded throughout. And I mean, they did a fantastic job. Just amazing.
So Randy, you were already my hero, but when you said you got this greenlit without a script or storyboards, you were doubly my hero. Remember when I went to the CEO of my bank and said, I'm going to do a superhero campaign. It was very chilly and lonely on my side of the boardroom. So kudos to you. Adam, because you do a lot of work in this space, I would love to hear your thoughts on kind of the spectrum of humor, right? Like, are you going for a giggle or a guffaw is sort of how we think about it at Synchrony. And I know you've got a ton of experience. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think I might have touched on this a bit earlier when I was talking about group therapy, but there's all different types of laughter. And I think what we aim for is at the end of the day to get a smile and make your heart beat a little bit faster. Whether that's through slapstick humor, and I was just watching a rough cut for something that we're doing that you'll see in the next couple of weeks, where it is absolutely like LOL, rolling on the floor laughing. And then there's other things you work on where it's it's more sophisticated, it's more simple, it's more elegant. And I think the range of comedy, the range of humor, the range of laughter, the range of enthusiasm is really exciting. And that's what that's why the aperture is so wide for all different types of brands to participate, because it makes the brand and the story more attainable, more exciting, and a lot of times more entertaining.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all. I'm going to toss it back to Rick because I think we have questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. This is great stuff. Randy, I'll throw out an invitation here for you. Like, be fun to put up the last barf bag at the Sundance screening room.
Oh,
We could maybe we could arrange for barf bags to be handed out at the door. Maybe at the top of the zip line, something like that. Anyways, open invitation to do that. That would be fun. I got a couple of comments, questions. I want to throw to Derek Hubbard here real quick. He knows a little something about comedy. I don't know how many of you have used the line, want to get away, but Southwest did a pretty good job of that. Derek, come on screen here and unmute, buddy. And where are you?
Hey, hey, here I am. How are you?
Hi, man.
What's up, everyone? This has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed this, and nice to see some familiar faces. Cindy doing a fantastic job, as always. I think she was one of the very first people I met at Elevate a couple years ago. So pleasure to be with you all here today. So at Southwest, really since the beginning, 1971, humor has been in the DNA of who we are as a company. And I would say, like, at that time, a lot of our creative advertisements, the things that you might have seen on TV or print advertisements, they were overtly funny. And even, like you mentioned, Rick, the "Want to Get Away" slogan, that's something that we still use to this day. It became very, very popular many years ago. And between that and Bags Fly Free, we've always had a lot of fun with our employees and with our customers. Namely, I don't know if any of you saw one of our ads. It probably was 20, 25 years ago, where we had our ramp agents paint Bags Fly Free on their stomachs, and they all held up their shirts. It always has been a part of who we are. We want our people to have fun with customers whenever you fly. However, of course, as the world has changed, as our customer base has changed, our employees have changed, we still wanted to focus on humor, but kind of get more into that smart humor. So kind of hearing from you, Adam, talk about how sometimes, it may make sense to have slapstick comedy in your content, whereas, maybe something that you're doing now relies more a bit on that intellectual or that smart humor. And so at the core of everything we do, we're always still trying to find a way to connect with our audiences through humor, right? So you'll see advertisements that we put out there, TV spots, whether it be in linear or on social, they still have that air of humor about them, not taking ourselves too seriously. We know air travel can be stressful, whether you're flying for business or for leisure or with a family or with small children. it can be stressful. We all get that. But we want to bring a little levity and a little bit of heart to the situation. So people know, hey, when I fly with them, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to meet a flight attendant who's really fun. He or she may rap. They may tell a joke, or they may, hug me in a time of need, and help make a stressful situation that much better. So I suspect that you likely will continue to see humor added into the content that we're producing, that we're putting out there, in every sense of the word. And I would like to think that as the years pass, we're only getting funnier, which has nothing to do with me, but really excited to get to work alongside some really creative people, and those of us who are helping create in-house, as well as some of our agency partners outside of the brand as well.
Awesome, Derek. Would love to see you get funnier and longer. It's the opportunity
That is,
for, yeah. Is
that
that
is
mindset?
Well, we'd love to do that, Rick. I know you and I have talked about that over the past years. It's something that we are actively exploring. We're always looking to innovate and try new things. And if I could just sign the check or put in my 2 cents for it, we would have already done it. But as you can imagine, there are a lot of things that we have to do first, some due diligence and all of that. But we're really excited about it. The brand storytelling space only continues to grow, and we're constantly seeing brands do really well in the space. All of you who are on this call who shared your experiences, you're doing incredible work that inspires me and my team. So really looking forward to what else we can learn from each of you, and see what's to come this summer in Utah.
You're an all-star, Derek. Thanks so much, and look forward to seeing you in July, my friend.
Derek,
Yes, my pleasure.
you and I need to talk, Derek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Hey, I'm down. Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime.
I'll connect the two of you. I don't know. I'll connect you by email here when we're done.
Cool.
Hey, we got Marcus Peterzel here from the Passion Point Collective. Always has some great insights for us. Marcus, come on.
Derek, I swore the first thing you were going to say was, Randy, let's do a couple. The second I heard about the barf bags, I was like, I hope they're on the phone to every airline. That's the first thing that hit me.
Marcus, honestly, I thought the same thing, because of course we do have barf bags on board the aircraft, but I will tell you, we hope people don't have to use them. So it's likely something that you won't ever see us promote, but yeah, it's a very cool concept, and hopefully none of you have had to use it either.
Well, it would be so simple to print on those barf bags. You wouldn't need this if you had your Dramamine.
There
you go.
Well, that's what the premise of if you go to thelastbarfbag.com, we have all the repurposed bag, because the whole storyline is we've killed the barf bag industry, so we need to find other ways to revive it. So
Right. I love that.
That's awesome. Hey, Randy, I think I can see your office out my window.
really?
Yeah. I live in Tarrytown. So there you go.
That's funny.
I'm just curious, but I'm always curious about the agency brand journey for the curation of ideas. So you mentioned your agency a few times, so that's Sunny, right?
No, our agency is FTB Chicago. The Sunny 16 are the producers of the film,
Got it.
or the directors.
So I was curious, did you give the agency a brief? We want to do something with premium content, branded content, long form content, and they came to the idea? Or did they come completely with, hey, forget the 30-second spot, we've got an idea for long form content, here's the idea? How did that journey evolve?
Yeah. So we had done the llama campaign, and it was doing really well. And what I love about FTV Chicago is, they have their slogan, never finished, and they truly are never finished. And so they came to us. It was December 18th. I mean, our office closed for the holidays, like December 20th. And they were just like, look, we have these bunch of ideas of how you can grow the brand further. They showed us like 5 ideas. I mean, they were all completely different. They were not all long form. There was, short stuff there was social media ideas. There was everything. And we just saw, the barf bag idea, and we just were like, oh my God, this is like genius. And we were like, okay, go to the next step and let's come back in January and let's hear more.
That's amazing. And all, just from the distribution standpoint, there's so many outlets that we've had to dig up who streamers who do pro social, high
Okay.
engagement, change the world, save it. So, but so many that don't do that. And all of our docs have been, so it's great. There's so many other avenues that are open to you that wouldn't normally be open. So that's great. And quick question for Neel. It's very funny when I try to explain what I do for a living. People are like, what? Can you give me an example? Like, I don't see how that's a big. So we all talk about BMW films, right? Everyone says, yeah, but that was a long time ago. And the example I always give for the Grand Slam home run at the World Series was the Caveman. Here was a commercial that turned into a network TV series. And people, oh, you're right. People don't put two and two together. So were you around for that whole piece? And is that still kind of, a trophy in the hallway there?
Yeah, that was before my time. I've been at Martin for a while. I spent like a very long time in advertising terms, which is like 16 years. But that predated me and on the account. But yeah, I think the Caveman show, which I believe was on ABC, was a little bit of a mixed bag. It was amazing to have a commercial mascot or a brand property achieve such a high level of cultural interest that a network would invest in it for a series. Now, it only made it through like 4 or 5 episodes, I think. There was a bit of a disconnect in how it evolved from the ads into the show and sort of fell apart. But I think, it is a really interesting story and a good ambition that any brand can have to make mascots and commercial work that's so compelling that people would actually have an appetite to consume it at a much longer length.
Neel, you should have taken credit for it. You should have said it was all you. You're involved. No one
Yeah. Well, brought him back. I was very involved with bringing him back and getting back to his roots. So
how often have you ordered the roast duck with the mango salsa?
It's a great line. See, they stick around, stick in your head.
Adam, I've got a question for you since you've come to Pulse. It's been a few months now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're talking to a lot of brands out there about longer form comedy. What are you hearing? What's your temperature like out there?
It's just the relatability is what gets brands most excited. In fact, if you think about packaged goods, if you think about consumer banking, if you think about beverages, there's a place for comedy in every single one of these brands in every single brand personality, right? Because of the spectrum that Cindy touched on earlier. So, what we try to figure out is what's the business problem we're looking to solve, not how does comedy solve for it, and not what's the format, and not what's the mandated format. We try to understand, what's the message, what are the values, and then what is your audience consuming, and that is where we'll make. So it could matter. Sometimes we're talking to brands about producing a podcast or a sitcom or an animated short or an integration into a video game, right? It depends on where the audience lives, and that's really what's driving the conversation as much as when you work for a company that's founded by the biggest comedian on the planet, the humor is table stakes. So what we try to do is have a conversation around what are the critical values, what are the desired business outcomes, where does the audience live, and how do we deliver on it?
Well, I know you're in development on some exciting stuff that we can't share, but
it's exhausting. But yeah, if we had this conversation in 3 months' time, it'd be so much more fun stuff to recap. So, but I'm sure we will as we gear up for Sundance.
Well, indeed. Hey, we're just about the top of the hour, but I've got just one last question for the panel here, and you can answer it briefly, and then we'll let everybody get on with their day. But just what, and I'll start with you, Randy, is what was the biggest surprise for you out of all of this? What really stuck out? What was like, you woke up one morning like, wow, that's crazy. What was it? There's probably a lot of things with yours.
Yeah. So I have to say that it was the way the brand was integrated into the film. Like I didn't have a clear sense of how it was going to happen. When we saw the first edit, we were like, okay, we need a little more insertion. But I knew that there was like the line between too branded and not branded, why did we do this, was so thin that it was easy to be on either side. And with, working with the agency and the feedback and just the delicate like handling of our content from them was just, I never could have imagined that we would end up with this film that is just, I've watched it honestly, I think like maybe 40 times by now. And I still love watching it because it's just fun to watch. And I love watching the collectors, and the brand gets inserted in ways that before I had seen it, I wouldn't have known we could be branded, but feel like completely authentic. So
yeah, great. How about you, Neel? What surprised you? Maybe the fact that you did the mockumentary in the first place was the surprise, right?
Yeah. That was kind of its own surprise and achievement, but interestingly enough, the piece that we've been talking about the most, which is the long form, the 15-minute, 14.5-minute long documentary, is honestly the most surprising piece of the campaign, because we never really started with an intention to make it. The whole idea was like, that's the concept, that's what we're going for. The work is going to be as if we were plucked from this longer thing, but we're never going to make the thing. And then we had such a wonderful director who really just, David Chafee at World War VII, amazing. And he just dove in with just total commitment, full gusto. The team got behind it. And we ended up having enough to put together, I'm biased, but to make what is a compelling 15-minute documentary that came together kind of at the end, and everybody saw it and was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. It's entertaining. We should probably put that out in the world. So in a weird way, the center of the concept was the most surprising thing that we made, because we never started out with the intention to make it.
Right. Understood. Adam, how about you? You want to wrap this up? Any surprise?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll say sometimes this work has such a high degree of difficulty. There's so many needles that need to be threaded. So I'm always surprised that it even gets that far. And when it's on air, which I talk about this a lot at work. It's hard, but the glory makes it worth it. And the amount of so I'm always surprised that you even got to that point, but then I'm always relieved and excited, and quite honestly not surprised at all, because it's entertainment, it drives the business forward, and that's where the industry is going.
Yeah. Great stuff, all of you. The world needs more laughs today, more than ever before, I think. So congratulations on the work that you're doing. I mean, I think you're all pioneers in this right now, and it's going to be fun to see what happens here in the future. Thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. We've recorded this for history's sake. You can share it in the future, but we won't make it publicly shareable until post Elevate. This is for Elevate guests only at the moment. We'll release it around January or July 26th. So thanks
Awesome.
all. We got another session coming up next week that's going to be really terrific, led by Scott Donaton on distribution strategies for brand films. You're going to want to be there for that. Appreciate everyone's time here. See you soon. Signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.